This is a risk trying to do an on the ground shot, but hopefully the pigs leave it alone and let me work. Hey, come on, leave it alone. Come on, get that. This is why we can't have nice things. You son of a... I want to take you guys on a little tour of my setup here as I'm getting the pigs bedded down tonight. It's going to be -8 or so, and we got a good wind clipping along outside. So you can see what I'm doing. I got about 20 or half of my pigs out on the pasture. I'll show you what I'm doing for them and how my operation works, keeping them reasonably happy even in sub-zero weather. Then the other half of my pigs, the gestating sows and some of the new piglets, they are in the barn. And there's different things that we have to factor in, whether they're on the pasture or on the barn. And it might surprise you to find out actually the pros and cons of both the outside group and the inside group. I'm Stephen Reichert. This is Rowan Ridge Farm. I'd like you to join us and our mission on this channel to make America farmers again and rebuild American culture through the rebuilding of the small American family farm. And that's what we're doing here. So subscribe to this channel, give us a like, and I'm gonna head outside. Everybody's got something. If you're down south, the heat and humidity, that creates different problems for the animals. If you're up here in New Hampshire or in Alaska, the cold and the longevity of the winter, that creates some different problems. So pretty much it's just about problem solving. There's nothing that is insurmountable. When we're talking about cold, there is wind speed, moisture or humidity, and then there's just the actual temperature. Those are the three factors that I really want to take into consideration as I'm trying to manage what they have going on. Are they sheltered from the wind? Are they in a dry environment where there's not pee or mud or spilled water from their drinking setups? Might be a little windy out there. The audio might sound a little bit bad if stuff's blowing around, and I'm going to have a headlamp on, so you're going to have to bear with me, but I appreciate you guys coming along, and we'll see what we got going on outside. I fed the pigs in the morning, which I've been doing that lately because it just kind of fits with my schedule a little bit better. So you can see all the snow that's blown in here. Normally we don't have a ton of wind. It's about 10 degrees right now outside. Of course, we're a little sheltered in here from the wind, so. And we have our first litter of spring piglets. This is my purebred mama. Her name is Chloe. And I'll tell you real quickly her story. She's a purebred old spot, as I mentioned, and she just had 7 little purebred piglets, which it seems like are all alive, and they seem to be doing great in here. And about a year ago, she was about the size of one of those little piglets right there, and her mother died unexpectedly. There wasn't anything I could do about it, so I did my best to try to save the babies. About half of the babies died. She was one of the ones who survived, and in the process of trying to rehabilitate her and nurse her along, somehow she got an injury to her front leg and developed a bad limp. And I was thinking that I was gonna sell her as a roaster because there didn't really seem like much I could do with her. Although she was the nicest looking piglet out of the litter, and I kind of wanted to keep her as a breeder. And I said, you know what, she deserves a shot. And this winter, she started getting bigger, and I realized she was bred. And then she gave us 7 beautiful little piglets. I'm pretty sure by the look of it, she's got everything she needs. She's got plenty of warm bedding. She still has food left over in her dish. And of course, the food is a big part of staying warm because burning calories is how the pigs produce heat. And as long as they got some dry bedding to kind of snuggle up in, they'll keep each other warm and they'll do great. And of course, here in the barn, there's good ventilation. You can see the door back here behind me. I'm going to close those sliding doors just so that the wind isn't blowing through. And the pigs have really, really sensitive respiratory systems. So we want to actually make sure, there are some farmers I know who will run fans even in the wintertime, even when it's this cold, because they don't want dead air and moisture building up. They want to keep it well ventilated and dry. Dealing with pig crap is a big part of my life. But when it's this cold, it's so much easier to pick up poop because it stays solid. These things are like rocks. I could pick these up with my gloves. I usually don't. Let me show you what I have. I use hay for bedding. Technically, straw is better than hay, if you were wondering, which maybe you weren't, but the whole point of insulation is to trap air, but straw is a little more fluffy and it kind of holds more air, whereas the hay tends to be a little bit more dense, more solid. And so dry hay is good, but it kind of gets crumpled down, and as it gets packed down, it stops working. So I use square bales. I've used square bales, I've used round bales. Honestly, for the big pigs that are across the way in here, we'll go and see them here shortly. For the big pigs, I would love to use round bales because it actually gives the pigs something to do. You can throw a round bale in there, they'll take it apart. The obvious problem with a round bale is that it's harder to subdivide. So when you got a mama in the farrowing stalls and you have some little babies that are down there that also need some hay, it's a lot harder to like pull off hay off of a round bale and take it elsewhere. So I've been using square bales. I've been really happy with this stuff, and it's good quality, nice dry hay. If you're buying hay for bedding, make very sure that it does not have mold, that it is plenty dry, because pigs are sensitive to mold and it can mess them up if they get some mold in there. So I'm going to throw in some bedding for the big pigs, and I'm going to throw in a little bedding for some of the little guys that are down here. And then we can head down to the pasture and make sure everybody's tucked in. And this is the point in my night where I just realized that I forgot my pocket knife. Be a farmer, they said. You'll make tons of money and have a huge YouTube channel. Nope. Always, 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 always carry a pocket knife, because there's always going to be something that you're going to need it for. These guys are 1 day old, and it's about 10 degrees here in the barn. Mama's hanging out. Babies are happy. One of my favorite things to do is just throw a fresh bale of hay in with a mama piggy and just watch her go to work on it, and she'll take it apart and make a nice little nest. As you can see, she's got a good setup going here. And the thing I really got to give her credit for, being a first-time mama and all, is that she's managed to take good care of all 7 of her babies. And it's a little scary, you know, watching her stomp around there with the babies. And of course now she's gonna check out the hay, see what needs to happen, and she'll throw some of that in the nest. But she manages to deal with the little ones in the nest without squashing anybody. That's what makes a good mama. I didn't have to come out here and do anything with her. Didn't have to help her. I just come out in the morning and I got 7 piglets and no dead ones. It's a good mama. She's doing the work, not me, and making my life easy. That's what I like. Walking in here with the hay, as I'm walking by the troughs for the pigs, I can see that they've left a little food in there, which to me is a good indication that they're not hungry. Then we're in pretty good shape. And usually I do these hay deliveries 2 bales at a time, and I let the pigs kind of sort it out for themselves, which they always enjoy. Wakey, wakey. Rise and shine. It's quite warm in there. And these guys are wearing what amounts to large winter coats. Because if you could see under that skin, they've all got a very heavy layer of fat. And then you pile them all in together, and they keep nice and warm. They got airflow coming from that door and that door. So lots of good airflow, and we'll come back and check on them in the morning after they got their sleeping arrangements sorted out. Okay, one of the biggest challenges in the wintertime is keeping the water flowing. And this is one of the biggest things that keeps people out of raising pigs in the winter. Now, there's a couple of options that we have, and depending on where the pigs are situated, as you'll see when we go down to the pasture, it'll determine which option we are using. When we are in the barn and the pigs are confined, this pig doesn't have the ability to go out and find some running water or eat snow. Obviously, the implication there is the pigs that are outside, they can find runoff, they can find running water even when it's pretty darn cold, unless it's like sub-zero for days. They can find a trickle somewhere out there in the pasture, and they can eat snow, which they typically do. So the idea that the farmer has to provide all of this water for their pigs all the time is actually a little bit over the top. When we're in the barn and the pigs are confined, like baby Chloe over here, and especially when they're lactating and they're eating more and there's a lot more going on metabolically, we want to make sure that they have access to clean, fresh water. And so that's what we're going to show you over here. This is called a nipple drinker, and right there is the nipple. That's where the water comes out of this 50-gallon drum. It screws into the barrel, so it's, of course, watertight. And when the pig bites this little valve here, the water comes out. It's still flowing. It's liquid. And it's not the most elegant electrical setup, but basically extension cords wired with a 500-watt stock tank heater. And then we put a covering over top to make sure that we keep in as much of the heat as possible. And when the water runs low, the pump house is right over here. It's got really not much in terms of insulation. It's just contained. And I got a little space heater in here that is tripped to go off when it's like below 38 or so. And so most of the time I keep this closed, but this cold weather is going to be a real good test for this, because this is my first year using this pump house setup. I had a frost-proof spigot over there in the corner that now has turned into the pump house. So far, I am real happy with the upgrade. This is frozen solid right here. Inside the barrel, though, the water is liquid. Freeze is right here at this choke point, so we got to kind of open things up. You got water, and hopefully she'll decide that she's ready to take a drink before that freezes solidly again. Yeah, pigs are big animals and they definitely need clean drinking water, but I found that when their waterers freeze up or when there's extenuating circumstances in the winter, that they can actually get by with a bucket of water dumped into a dish a couple of times a day and they'll be all right. Like, they need clean water, but they need a lot less of it than what you probably think. Pretty much what I got in mind for these guys is going to be a couple bales of hay, and that's about it, because they have everything else kind of buttoned up already down where they are at. So that should be enough. It's surprising, but it's true. Those little guys, they can get by with next to nothing. Oh, they think I brought them food. Sorry, guys. So in the wintertime, I will tell you that snow can reduce the effectiveness of the electric fence. However, while it may make it a little bit less effective, I can tell you that fence is still plenty hot, and it still has the ability to influence these little guys the way that we want, and they respect it even when it's covered with snow. So as long as the top wire is still outside the snow, I'm gonna keep it hot, keep it running, keep it plugged in. Okay, we got our hay bale down here to the pigs' domiciles. These are our porta huts, and I'm gonna put one bale in each little hut, and I'll let the piglets do the rest from there. Watch out, bud. There we go. Okay, this shelter is oriented, so kind of this way here is more or less north. So they're pretty much facing in like a southeast direction, which is pretty safe as far as where the wind is going to be coming from. So this kind of helps with the kind of keeping them out of the weather. All right, and then you can see they've got a pretty deep bed already in there, and this is just going to help them keep a little bit more dead air space in there. And the outdoor pigs, I feel like they do a better job of keeping their sleeping areas clean. You saw kind of in the indoor pigs, some of them kind of go to the bathroom not too far away from where they're sleeping. These guys out here, they kind of have to pile in there. When it's time to sleep, they pile in, and if you got to go to the bathroom, you got to leave the hut, go outside, do your business, and then you come back, and that keeps things a lot cleaner inside the huts than they would otherwise be in the barn. The other nice thing about it is that you can see that's nice dry looking hay in there, and we'll bring another bale and put it in here. But their waste is spread out all over. It's not concentrated in a small area, so they have some room to kind of disperse their impact out here, and that's helpful. And what do we do for water? Well, out here we have a little runoff that is flowing pretty nicely. It's about 10 degrees right now, and well, still going. It's clean, it's moving. They can drink out of it. And so that pretty much means fresh water for them on demand. You might be kind of surprised to see how well they actually do out here in the snow. And everybody's gaining weight. We had a couple of these guys that got a little, got some colds, some respiratory stuff when the weather warmed up pretty dramatically about a week ago. But once the weather kind of went back to being cold, dried the air out. And tonight it's going to be like, I call this guy Dobby. He's a little runt, and his ears are so floppy. He looks like Dobby from Harry Potter. He's tiny. I couldn't get rid of him. I'm going to keep him. He's going to be my pet. And this is Geronimo. He's another one of my boars, my little purebred old spot. But yeah, I love the underdogs. This is a risk, trying to do an on the ground shot, but hopefully the pigs leave it alone and let me work. They'll let me cook. Hey, come on, leave it, Mama. Hey, you rat bastard, leave it alone. Come on, get that. Go on. Would you leave it alone, please? Jeez, this is why we can't have nice things. Guys, seriously. Oh, jeez. You son of a... This literally is why we can't have nice things. Yes, thank you. Our cameo from our camera person, camera pig. Oh, you're so precious. I can't be mad at you. That's the problem. These things, the piggies, they're so cute. I can't stay mad at them for too long. But sometimes they really push my buttons. You can see the design structure is pretty good. Enough room up top, enough headroom for ventilation. take you around the back so you can see the vents that they have. You can open up the vent here in the back, and that allows some air to pass through under there. And you may be surprised to learn that when you have this vent closed up and then you go inside, you actually see condensation, like beads of water on the top of the ceiling collecting there. And you don't really want that. You don't want that kind of humidity in there. So opening this up so that the air can go through, keep everything nice and dry, that's the best defense that you have for you know, respiratory conditions and stuff in your pigs, because pigs have real sensitive respiratory systems, and you want to give them every possible advantage that you can. And honestly, I would say it's kind of a toss-up in terms of whether these guys are better off out here or the guys in the barn are better off. I'd say it's about 50-50. I know from my standpoint, it's a lot easier to manage these guys just to keep them fed and watered, because I don't really have to do much other than bring them feed, bring them a little hay every now and then. If you're trying to separate them and manage them and kind of micromanage them, maybe might be a better way to put that. That is a lot harder out here because they kind of have the run of the show and they go where they want to. So I'm kind of on their schedule out here, but makes chores easier. And so when there's pigs that just need to eat, sleep, and grow, and they're not doing anything special, not having babies, like Blondie right here, she's got a litter of babies on board, but you can see she's nowhere close to delivering. So I'm letting her hang out here with these guys, and they're all just kind of, you know, doing their thing. And when the time comes that she's getting ready to give birth, probably 3-4 weeks beforehand, I'll move her up to the barn and kind of get her comfortable up there before I separate her out into a farrowing stall. That way she's not trying to give birth down here with all these hooligans in her way. And in the meantime, everybody's doing good. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, because we're supposed to get 1.5 feet of snow Sunday, Monday, and well, if you like this video, you probably will enjoy seeing a little bit about how we manage the snow in addition to the cold. I'm Stephen Reichert. This is Rowan Ridge Farm. Make sure you join us, because we're making America farmers again. We want you to be part of that journey.